Hi, my name is Ridwan Mseya, and today we're going to learn about Dalton's atomic theory. But before we start, let us have a simple recap on the basics of science and how we are supposed to perform scientific investigation. So there are three main important things that you have to do and steps in order to be able to make a scientific experiment. The first one is an observation, the second one a representation, and the third one an interpretation. So we can have a simple analogy for this. For example, tumekaa tunamobserve mtu Juma. Tunamobserve Juma. Juma tumemwona anaenda shule. Kabeba mabegi ya shule, amevaa uniform. Anaenda shule. This is an observation. We have also observed that Juma ameenda shule ya Ilanzi. Juma ameenda shule ya Ilanzi. Amevaa uniform, ameingia shule ya Ilanzi. Another observation we can make about Juma. Juma amecheza mpira. Another observation. Observation nyingine tumemwona Juma anaingia katika mkondo wa darasa la pili. So this is just an observation that we have made about Juma. Tumemwona amebeba mabegi, amevaa uniform, anakwenda shule. Tumemwona ameingia katika shule ya Ilanzi. Tumemwona amecheza mpira. Tumemwona ameingia katika mkondo wa darasa nini? Darasa la pili. Now, after making your observation as a scientist, you have to represent this observation in such a way that kila mtu ambaye atakuja kuangalia representation yako ataelewa unachokiongelea. No, kwa sababu ni vigumu sana kuchukua tulichokiobserve na exactly kukitumia kama kilivyo. So usually in science we make representations of what we have observed. So nimemwona kwa macho yangu, ningekuwa na kamera ndio ningerecord the best representation of Juma akitoka shule, akivaa uniform, akaenda shule ya Ilanzi, akicheza mpira, akiingia darasa la pili. Lakini sijarekodi video. Nimeobserve kutumia nini? Macho yangu. Kwa hiyo kwenye karatasi langu pale nikiwa naandika na naandaa sasa representation ya Juma, ndio kama nilivyofanya hapa. Mbona nimechora uso, hii mikono na hii miguu. Nina uhakika gani kwamba mtu utainterpret hii kama uso, hii kama mikono na hii kama miguu? Ni kwa sababu this is universal. Universally, all people have been taught that whenever you draw a stick person, you draw them with a round face. Unaweza kuongeza macho hapa na kidomo, mikono na hii ni miguu, and this is the torso. So this is a universal representation. This is one of the main points katika science. Ukiwa una represent in notation ambayo ipo universal. For example, nikisema Na, naona tayari yani mtu hapa anajua kwamba hii it can mean sodium. Why is this possible? Inawezaje ni kwamba hii sodium ni represent tu kwa kutumia N na A? Kwa sababu watu wote duniani wanaosoma kemia wanafundisha kwamba N na A ina represent sodium. Kwa hiyo hata kwenye chemical reactions zangu katika research yangu yote nitaandika Na as a representation of sodium. So now we are done with the representation. We have represented our subject here, Juma. Now we want to make an interpretation. Kwamba sawa umesha observe Juma anaenda shule, amevaa uniform, ameenda shule ya Ilanzi, amecheza mpira, yuko darasa la pili. But what does this mean? What can we get from this information? What do we interpret? No. Cha kwanza tumesema Juma. No, tumemwita Juma. So the first interpretation you can make is that Juma is a boy. No. So hii interpretation ina coincide na observation. Interpretation yetu ina coincide na observation. Okay? The interpretation coincides with the observation. Interpretation inakuwa sawa sawa na observation. They have to be equivalent. It is very important. Unaweza ukaobserve mtu unamwita Juma alafu ukasema Juma ni msichana. Unaona? So this observation and interpretation lazima zi coincide. And the other thing is we use this interpretation to make better observation baadaye. So mfano sasa tumeshajua Juma is a boy, and our interpretation is coinciding with the observation. The other interpretation we can make is that Juma yupo darasa la pili, is in second grade, kwa sababu tumeona Juma anaingia katika mkondo wa darasa la pili, kaingia mule darasa. So there is a very high chance kwamba Juma yupo darasa la pili. And another thing we can interpret from this, we can predict kwamba age, umri wa Juma, kwamba Juma ana umri gani. Tunajua darasa la kwanza Tanzania watu wanaanza na miaka 7 au mostly ni miaka 7 au 8. Kwa darasa la pili Juma ana kati ya miaka 8 au 9. Unaona, he's 8 or 9 years old. So we have made this prediction about Juma from our observation. So tumefanya observation, representation, and interpretation of the data that we have about Juma. So this is common in in science in general. We always make an observation about a phenomena. We represent that phenomena in different models. Here we chose a model of a stick person, and we make an interpretation. Juma hafanani hivi. Unaona? Hii sodium chloride Na, sodium yenyewe ukiichukua haifanani hivi. It does not resemble anything with any. It's just a representation. And then after that we make an interpretation of what we have observed. Okay. Now, what is a theory? Now, tumesha introduce, tumesema tunatengeneza observations zetu, tunafanya representation yetu, tuna interpret. Now, a theory comes after the interpretation. Ukishafanya interpretation observation yako, and you see that Juma is a boy. This is your first interpretation you made. Juma is in second grade, and Juma is in ages between 8 and 9. These interpretations zako ndio utazikuja kuzitumia kutengeneza nini? A theory. So, what is a theory? A theory is a unifying principle that explains a body of facts and all laws that are based on them. So, a unifying principle. So, a theory is a principle that is unifying a body of facts. What is the body of facts here? This one. These are the facts. See? These are the facts that you have from interpretation that Juma ni mwanaume, Juma yuko second grade, na Juma ana umri kati ya miaka 8 mpaka 9. So you have interpreted them, and these are your body of facts. And these are the laws that you're going to have after your interpretation. So you observe, you make an observation here. Kenda shule, uniform, Elanzi, anacheza mpira, yuko darasa la pili. You make a proper interpretation, and these are going to be your laws or facts about Juma. So this is a theory. Now you have a theory ya Juma. And a theory juu ya Juma, a subject type of Juma. Now the same goes for Dalton's atomic theory. Dalton observed different phenomena, akafanya representation yake na different experiments, and akafanya interpretation ya hizi phenomena, akapata laws tofauti kuhusiana na nini? Na the atom and elements. Now, what was the first law aliyoipata katika theory yake? The first law says that elements are composed of completely small particles called atoms. Atoms. So, akaziita atoms. What are atoms? Small particles. Very small particles of an element. So, we have an element, again, let us say sodium. We know that sodium is an element, right? And if you find sodium in nature as a big block, if you're possible to find this, what? Sodium mineral. We found sodium mineral here. If you take this sodium mineral, which has only elements of sodium and no other impurities, only sodium, and you break it down. Just break it down into smaller particles. See? And you keep breaking it down, these smaller particles, and you make them even smaller. And then you break them down into even microscopic particles, which are even smaller. Small, tiny, tiny, tiny particles, which is form of a powder. This sodium mineral here will keep breaking down until this sodium mineral here will keep breaking down until it reaches a point where there are only atoms of sodium. Here, after breaking them down, you reach a point where you have atoms of sodium. So here you started with a large rock of sodium mineral. You break it down and break it down and break it down and break it down until you find atoms of sodium. So each element is composed of these small particles here. atoms, these small particles which are called atoms of sodium. This is for each and every element. So the same goes for if you have aluminium mineral as a rock, huge rock, you can always break it down. Keep breaking down until you find aluminium atoms. So we know that each element that we have is composed of small particles called atoms. This is the first law that Dalton stated, and it made a lot of sense, because whenever you have a solid, for example a stone, you take a stone, you can always crush it down and keep crushing it and keep crushing it to form smaller and smaller particles. So it made very sense that these tiny particles it's very likely that you can break them down into even smaller particles, which are known as atoms. So this was the first theory according to the observations of Dalton. Now the second theory